say, let's switch gears for a second and talk about Wall Street. You know, they're talking about the bonuses now, which in some cases account for, three-quarters of some of these folks' salaries. And if they're going to be taking such a hit with these bonuses, that's certainly got to trickle down to a lot of areas.
It's going to trickle down to a lot of consumer purchases at the upper end, but even more so, it's going to be a real drain on state fiscal resources. And we have an income tax in Connecticut that is much more progressive than people think. And part of that progressivity is for people over $100,000 in income, and that is affected by things like bonuses and capital gains, dividends, and interest. All of these are likely to take a hit this year. The states announced that they probably have a $150 million deficit. They've already taken some actions to try and mitigate that. My guess is the problem is anywhere from 4 to 10 times that amount.
Wow.
There's a lot of factors that will come into play, but I'd be amazed if we're not seeing at least what would be a $600 million deficit by the end of the fiscal year that we're in right now. And so obviously this is going to be a huge challenge for the state. There's also a challenge in municipalities, particularly larger ones. A lot of the smaller mid-sized municipalities, I think, will ride the storm pretty well. They'll do a little belt tightening, but nothing drastic. But when you look at some of the cities, like a Bridgeport, they're not only going to be affected by slowdowns in state aid, they're also going to be affected by the fact that when a property's in foreclosure, nobody's paying the property tax on it.
Right.
And that is going to hit their grand list, and it's going to hit them pretty hard. So you're going to see a really rough situation here. And part of this is due to the fact that the state has not thought effectively about what it needs to do long term. And one of the key factors when the income tax reform was introduced in '92 was the whole idea of tax volatility. You try and mitigate the volatility so that you don't have such huge surpluses in good times, and you don't have such extreme deficits in bad times. And that, of course, enables them to continue moderate rates of state aid to municipalities, and helps them deal with increased demand for things like social services and the like when the times are bad. And some of the same people who are in favor of increased aid in these areas are the same people who have been creating a tax environment that is more volatile. And they don't understand this, and they need to understand this. And really, the cities and the social service agencies should be putting pressure on the state, not for increasing taxes, but for getting the tax system in better shape so it can withstand the economic cycles.
And so just to wrap up, things are going to get a little worse before they get better?
They will definitely for government. I think for business and industry, it's going to be a mixed picture. I think it's still going to be rough with financial services through the end of the year. It's still going to be rough with housing through the end of the year. I think there's potential for recovery. I don't think jobs are going to be that negatively affected. I think we will end up net positive on jobs, net new jobs in Connecticut. One of the challenges there is, of course, when you have manufacturing doing well, you're still seeing some manufacturing job losses simply because they can't hire people. There's not available workers out there. If there were available workers, you would see a positive rate of growth in manufacturing net new jobs right now. And so that's an ongoing problem for the state, and the state's going to deal with issues like that too.
There you have it. Pete Gioia, economist with the Connecticut Business and Industry Association. Thank you for joining us today. We'll check in with you in a few weeks.
Great, glad to be here.
I'm Caryn McBride. Thanks for tuning in.